Hi, thank you so much for tuning in to Coffee and Childbirth, the YouTube channel. I'm Dr. Kelsey. Dr. Rhea is not with us today. She's busy doing some other things, but I have with me Miss Jessica Winder here. We just went over that because we had a little intro. So again, what we're here to talk about, you're used to hearing us talk about like the medical side and the PT and the chiropractic side of childbirth, and then postpartum health and women's health and all of those things. But what we wanted to share is a very exciting partnership between the Winder Law Firm and Hidden Gem Coaching, because they're going to support us with Coffee and Childbirth Live happening January 17th. We're going to also do it a little bit later in the summer as well. But as far as the event goes, like what we're talking about, it's a little more short term. So I have Miss Jessica here, and I'm going to let her introduce Jessica, tell us, who you are. We can kiki a little bit on like how we interact and how we met, but as far as like, tell me what you do. And then also if you have any insight into your husband's, like how you partnership as husband and wife with the Winder Law Firm as well. So go ahead.
So it's like a lot going on over here. So first I'll be here. This is going to be so fun. I love, if you know me, I love to talk. I can talk to anyone, anytime, anywhere.
Let's do it.
So yeah, Jessica Winder. I've been in HR and like corporate workspaces for the past 13 years. Okay. Recently decided to join forces, and I always laugh and say like, this is my law firm. I don't have a law degree, but my husband does. And so I'm now joined on to be his head of HR and like build out the firm based in Las Vegas. In the next couple of years, we're going to expand in Texas because I'm from Texas. And so that's part of the deal, is we want to have a practice where I'm from and also where he's from, and help as many people as we can. So specialize in personal injury. And then on top of that, I have my own career coaching business. So in 2020, I decided, where could I be the most useful in helping people? And it's helping people find a job. So since I've been an executive in HR, I've done the interviews, I've seen what it's like to work in corporate. Who better to coach you on how to get a job and how to do your resume than me? And so I spend a lot of time talking about that. And then on top of all of that, I decided, got married, fell in love, and had 4 babies in the span of 16 months. And if you're trying to do the math, that's 2 sets of twins.
It's too much. It's a lot. I'm like, it's a lot. It's too much.
Yeah. So on top of that, like whenever I tell people, they're like, say what now? I'm like, yes, I had 4 babies in the span of 16 months. So postpartum health and like all the things that I went through in my pregnancy journey has been really interesting. And that's how we met, because you have my babies. Like, you know what I mean? Like honestly, all of them except like Sin. And maybe, we might have to get him on board to do a little something.
Yep. He sees me coming like, you help my sisters and my brother, and I don't know, because they were not into it sometimes. I don't know. Yeah.
So yes,
have worked together, on a client level, and then also just with what I have seen as a working mom myself, where all moms work. I do definitely, like we were just talking about the holiday weekend, where it's like, I appreciate and can, validate how much is happening for a mom who is primarily working with their children, right? They're running their household. Those workers are honestly sometimes the hardest employees to handle. So definitely validate that. But I definitely appreciate what I've seen you share in regards to like the HR side of working for someone and interviewing pregnant and having a dual. I think you had mentioned that you had like 2 jobs at one time. And, these things that are intense that most, like the average person is going to encounter.
Yeah.
The average person is going to have this happen in their fertility journey, reproductive journey at some point. So just one quick question from the law firm side before I forget to ask. When it comes to like, when I think of perinatal, obviously, if there's an injury, right, that's something that would support. There's a car accident or something happened at work for a person who's pregnant. That makes sense. That tracks. When it comes to like estate planning or legacy planning or those kinds of things, that's also something I think about in the perinatal side. Is that something that Erin does as well? How does that
So this is ironic. I married into a whole law family. So my father-in-law and my mother-in-law are both attorneys. Hopefully nobody needs my mother-in-law, because she does capital murder.
Oh,
so I was like, might not need to be using her services, hopefully. But my father-in-law does a little bit of everything. So he does estate planning and all of that stuff. And he and Erin partner together on quite a lot of things. So my in-laws and my husband are all attorneys. And so like, if you needed something, they got you covered. Okay. We got a range of things.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured when it comes to like, same thing with PT, where it's
Yeah.
like, even if I'm not, like if Aaron had an issue, it's like, well, I wouldn't necessarily work with you, but I know
Yeah.
exactly who I'd refer you to, right?
Yes.
You know,
100%.
if we're worth anything as whatever our industry is, whatever our profession is, like we should know what the gaps that we're not filling, right?
100%.
Okay, so back to the gaps that we are filling. You had mentioned a little bit about what inspired you to create Hidden Gem Career Coaching. What do you feel like for pregnant moms, what's one common fear that you hear from them? And like, what would one piece of advice? So if the mom who is like
Yeah.
pregnant and she, I don't know, whatever trimester, she's hasn't started showing yet, but maybe she could
Yeah.
potentially start showing, what would be one mindset shift you could give to her?
I've encountered so many people that like I did a presentation recently where I talked about how I interviewed pregnant and I was very pregnant. Like I was clearly showing when I
Yeah.
was interviewing.
Yeah.
And the feedback that I got from people is that like basically you should have hit it or you should have waited. So I want to just push back on that narrative because I actually don't believe that that's true. I think there's nothing wrong with interviewing, changing jobs, doing whatever you need to do for you or your family while you're pregnant. A lot of people think like the moment you're pregnant, you better stop doing everything and like everything stops until you have the baby.
Yeah.
And then you can look for a new job or then you can ask for that promotion. And that's not true. It just is not true. Now, let's live in the real world. Like there is absolutely biased. I encountered it. I've seen it. I have seen someone who just looked pregnant but was not pregnant be discriminated against. And so
Which
I've
is wild.
seen it. I have seen it for myself, but I don't think that's a reason to slow down your career if you don't want to. Like for me, I knew that I wanted to interview for this job. I knew that I was clearly pregnant. So I made it a part of the conversation the first time they met me. And mind you, it was funny because they flew me out to Canada. So they were interviewing me from like here up the whole time. In the final interview, I show up and I'm like waddling, I'm pregnant with twins.
Yeah, because it's twins, right? It's not
Yeah,
even
like my
like a,
second set of twins.
normal,
And they're like,
like
what?
a typical.
Yeah, they're like blown away. Like, wait, what? So I say that to say you don't have to shrink, but also if that's something you want to do and you want to get out of the workforce, like that's okay too. So I am just very open-minded about it. Like you can do whatever is best for you and don't feel shame for wanting to go back to work. Like I'm going to be honest, for me, I was happy to go back to work. Like I took 4 months off both times, and the day that I started back working, I was happy. Okay, there was not a tear shed. I was ready to
But I
go.
mean, right. That's what we had talked about a little bit of like just the understanding what your needs are and optimizing for what your family needs are, what your needs are. Because the reality, like you had said, is you may not be able to stop working. So something depending on your financial resources and your family lifestyle and how that, you may not be able to just say, okay, I'm showing now or I'm pregnant and I can't work. Like, okay, well, what if there's not an option for that? You would need to know beforehand, or maybe that's a good time to optimize for your shift. If you're like, okay, well, I'm going to be looking for a new job anyways. Maybe I should be looking at something that is family friendly. Why not
that
have
is
this
flexible.
conversation now? Maybe
Absolutely.
you're coming from more corporate or more, especially here in Vegas, like hospitality centered, where there's really not a lot of room for that. But I don't know. I haven't interviewed here in that industry, but I could imagine it's probably not easy in that industry because so much of it is like you're serving other people. And so why would you serve yourself and providing support for your pregnancy journey? So it sounds like optimizing your needs.
Yes, optimize your needs. And also to your point, like I want to say, I worked both times I got pregnant with twins. I worked until I literally went to the hospital. Like I will never forget the first time with my girls. I literally sent them a message and was like, I'm not feeling well. I'm gonna go, like, we're just gonna go stop by the hospital. And then literally hours later, I sent them a message like, I'm gonna be giving birth today. Like, so being open about that. And another thing I would push for is understanding what your leave is going to be. So start planning. Like the moment you find out you're pregnant is when I think you need to start planning for your leave, whether that's preparing your team, getting your leader ready, writing some stuff down, whatever you need to do, start as soon as you know, because you don't know when you're going to go out. Both of my sets of twins were preemies. So I had no clue. Like there was really no like, oh, you should be ready. Like I was ready 6 weeks way before because I knew.
And most people, to your point of most people want or intending for either a spontaneous vaginal birth, or if you're in a twin situation, then there is more likelihood that it would be C-section. But like you said, that may be C-section earlier than the specific date because you're not feeling well or something's happening. So to your point of we really do need to be able to have some understanding of what we would like to be doing and how we could transition to that, because especially with spontaneous vaginal birth, both of my I had singletons, boring over here. I had singletons, and both times I worked up until my due date. Yeah, until my due date. And it was because partially, like we said, the financial piece is I was like, I feel fine.
Yeah.
Just why not just keep going? Like it is what it is. I feel good. Baby's good. I can just keep going. But I still, even though I was working up until that point, had to have some kind of logical framework for if I'm passing this off, when it's just like a drafted email to send, when it's a text to send, when it's, those things that you already planned, if you can, to get yourself ready. So those are super helpful tips. And then when they are, so like, let's say, if they're going to be ready to make a change, is there anything that you feel like other than obvious discrimination, is there anything that you feel like maybe a subtle sign of like, we should be actually making a shift to not come back to this job, to not come back to this position?
Yeah, I think if there's a lack of flexibility and it. So I have worked at jobs, and this was actually before I got pregnant. I was at a job that just had no flexibility. The expectation was that you were working nights, you were working weekends. It was a startup. There was the whole, you need to hustle, like the hustle culture, like you need to be on, like play hard, all that
Like
type of
work
situation.
harder. Yeah.
Yeah. And so if that, I don't know, no, let me miss words. I know that I could not work in that environment and be the type of mother that I wanted to be. And so there's no shame to the moms that did work there, but that was not my journey. And so I knew that I couldn't work there. And so I knew if I wanted to have a family, I had to leave there. So if there's a lack of flexibility and it, be very mindful of that, because sometimes there's some flexibility in the beginning, but it always goes back. It goes back to what the culture is. So be mindful of that and plan your exit, like plan it accordingly. Like sometimes you need to stay for a certain amount of time. Like there's no shame in having to do that either. But if there's a lack of flexibility, just get ready.
Yeah, because I mean, even with appointments, like if you think about a person who has, not always, I hesitate and kind of stutter because it's like not always, but if you have an OB, a typical OB's office is likely, or even a midwife's office sometimes, but you are not going to have the flexibility to maybe have a 5 o'clock appointment. Like that's not always going to happen. So if your employer is already at second trimester being like, oh, you need to take a prenatal appointment. Oh, sorry, you can't, like, you got to take the whole day off for that, be kind of penalized, be kind of shunned a little bit, indirectly, of course, because it's all like above board written into the regulations and whatever. But, there are things that you notice that if then calling in sick because your child is sick and you don't have childcare is not going to be any easier. I guarantee you. So
it's a preview. So to your point, like when you're pregnant, how you're treated is a preview of what it's going to be. And in my situation, I had a midwife and I had like dual care. So I had a midwife that was supporting me. And then I also had my OBGYN like looking at the twins. So I had appointments like literally I had multiple appointments a week.
Yeah. And that's if you're high risk, either not because of your age, but because of just a multiple birth.
Yeah.
That it bumps you into high risk. Or maybe you could be high risk with a singleton because of your age, but you're actually not having any issues. I've seen that a lot too, is where it's like you're not having any issues, but that bumps you into that category. And therefore, like you said, you have all of these appointments that you want to go to because you want to be responsible and you want to make sure everything's okay. And you have to have that flexibility there. What about, so this is an interesting one, because again, as a healthcare provider in Vegas, I live in Vegas. I love to say I live here, but I'm not like in the industry. I don't know, I don't know what it's like to work at a hotel. I don't know what my husband does, but I don't know like all of those things, those pieces. So what do you feel like for moms in Vegas who are maybe in the industry, hospitality industry, what would you like? What is a strength they could bring to an interview at a new job? And what is like a piece of advice you could give them?
My biggest piece of advice, because I do feel like specifically to Las Vegas, is the hospitality is just such a big industry here. And you could use that to your advantage. So I want to start with a positive is that think about all the jobs here that are for hospitality. So there are jobs here that have flexibility. Like I have a close friend here that I won't name the hotel, but she had a great maternity leave. They supported her. They gave her, like, she moved from one part of hospitality to a different part where she could sit down. Like they
Right.
were very accommodating. So use that to your advantage. So I think that is the positive side, is that this town is built on hospitality. You can find another job that
Yeah.
will be flexible with you. The flip side of that is that starting over at a new job brings its own stress.
Mhm.
So being mindful of that, of like, how long can you wait tables? Like, can you do it? Can you carry trays? Can you do those things? Could you switch to, intake and taking people in and like
Yeah.
sitting down? Like, is
Yeah.
that something that you could do? So realizing that you can change positions and then you can always go back. Like if you enjoyed
Totally.
that one better, you could go back.
Totally.
So working with management on like, this isn't going to work because, for me, like at the end, I was so swollen, like I could
Mhm.
barely walk up the stairs.
Mhm.
So me serving tables was never going to work. Like,
Yeah.
but maybe that's something I could do up until I was 6 months. So being flexible in what you're doing, if you can, because in hospitality, there are so many jobs. So
There are.
think about it in that thing, is that you could do something else for a little while
Yep.
you need to, as an accommodation,
Yep.
and then go back.
Yep. Yeah, and the understanding, like you said, of where the departments are.
Yeah.
It's nice that they are so big.
Yeah.
The positive of that is that there's so many different
Yes.
pieces and moving pieces that we don't even know about,
Mhm.
that have to do with what's in that entire company. And
Yeah.
then also the fact that I think too, even, flexibility of like working on a weekend is not
Yes.
necessarily great, but maybe that's just what's going to work for now,
Yeah.
so that you can cover childcare with your spouse, or you can have a rest like longer in between shifts, or something like that. You
Yeah.
can be creative. I think, I can't remember what podcast I was listening to. I think it was actually a pelvic health podcast, but it would be interesting. I think a lot of people do have a hard time, and I have a hard time with this as well, but being able to present an alternative
Mhm.
without being married to that alternative.
Yes.
And I think there's probably like a really good, I'm sure
Yeah.
as an HR person, you probably have a really good way of
Yeah.
strategy and tactic of doing that, because sometimes it's too much for the supervisor if you're like giving them all of these options.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it can depend, but sometimes people are like, cool, and I'll just rewrite the whole book for them. And they're like,
Yeah.
I don't want that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't need
I
all
think
that.
the ability to be creative, like
Yeah.
getting creative with what is it you need, and going to your leadership with, I tell people this all the time. If you're going to come to me with a problem, I need you to come with a solution. Even if we don't go with your solution,
Yeah.
come with a solution so I know you've thought about it. Because if not, then you're putting the burden on me. So
Yeah.
that's one more thing that I got to add to my to-do list.
And the solution might not be like you were saying. It might
Yeah.
not be something that's going to work for the actual company, because
Yeah.
you as the employee don't know, and that's okay, but you don't
Mhm.
know all the ripple effects of what your solution is.
Mhm.
And it can feel like, well, I came to you with a solution, but then you didn't use it. And I do
Mhm.
understand that that feels not great, but at
Yeah.
the same time, especially in a big company, there's probably a lot of
Oh,
things
yeah.
that are going on that would invalidate that for now.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
maybe at least they'll maybe give you some other option or accommodation
Mhm.
to support that.
Yeah. And if you
Um,
don't ask, you won't get it. So that's another thing. Like I have seen
yeah,
people be like, well, I shouldn't ask for this. And once you ask, they're like, absolutely, like we could do that. But you
yeah,
never asked, or you waited until it was too late. So
yeah,
speak up. That's another thing. Just speak up.
yeah, yeah, it really is. And that's probably, that's part of why we talk about with optimization of your needs, is trying to do that in the first trimester instead
Mhm.
of feeling like you're terrified and scared before you go into, then you're going to show. And so you're like kind of behind the eight ball, and being able to have those conversations,
Absolutely.
articulate what you need. Maybe your spouse, you can have those conversations with your partner so
Mhm.
that you don't have to make that same decision. You still have to make a decision, but maybe it's better than you think. Maybe you
Yeah.
have more options than you think. But
Yeah.
living in fear of that is not really, it's not really going to serve you and get you
Yeah.
into where you need to be
Yeah.
going. Okay. So the biggest question that all the moms want to know is, how do you and your husband support yourselves in working together so often, so closely, and in times of transition? Because, like you said, for children in 18 months, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
18
Mhm.
is, not for the faint of heart, even if you weren't working to
Yeah.
build each other's dreams.
Yeah. No,
We
it's
add on that layer, like what's happening there, Jessica?
so we are really open about like therapy. We went to therapy this morning and we laugh about it all the time, because we're like, we are those people that like go to therapy and like laugh and have a good time. Like we love our therapists. But one of the things that we did as soon as we found out we were pregnant was be like, we need to find a therapist, because we found out that we were having multiples.
Okay.
We're both like older. So I was I was high risk. Like all these things were happening that we were just not equipped to deal with. And so one of the things that we were very adamant about is like, we need help. And so here in Las Vegas, we have Maternal Minds. I love them to death. They are amazing, like just specializing and like getting you prepared. So we did it like prep for pregnancy. And then obviously I got pregnant again. So then there was another transition. And now we're doing this whole, we're in business together. So that's a separate transition. And so the first thing that I would say is get a therapist.
Yeah, I'm actually going to
yeah.
be at the event in January.
Yeah.
So
Highly recommend.
there.
Yeah, highly recommend. And then the second thing I think is simple, but it's true. Like we really treat our family as like we're a team. So like there are times when I will say this, I can't do this, and he will pick it up, and vice versa. Like we know our strengths. We were laughing last night because he's like, the moment you open your eyes and your feet hit the floor, he's like, you're going, you're go, go, go. Whereas he is like, I need to open my eyes. I need to transition. I might need to drink some coffee. By that time, I already have like laundry loaded. The girls are dressed. Like we're running.
Yeah,
But
you're my husband. I am not. I'm Aaron in that situation. I'm like, don't talk to me.
no, I'm like, the moment my eyes open, it's go time. But then he laughs because he'll say, in the moment you sit down, like I can sleep anywhere. The moment I take a moment, I'm like, I'm done. Like
narcolepsy. Yep. You're like, I'm done.
like I can sleep anywhere. But really having that like team dynamic, and we do this funny thing when like the kids are having a meltdown, we'll say one team, like don't forget we're one team. We did that when we took them back to Texas. So we obviously took them on their first flight. And literally before we got on the flight, we're like, one team.
You're still smiling and alive to show for it. So I'm really proud of you guys. That's incredible. That is incredible. Wow. Yeah. Do you have any tips for the plane? I mean, I don't even know. How would you, it's just
literally we bribe that I'm one of those moms that I'm not above it. Okay. We got lollipops, we just bribe them the whole way, and there's no shame in it. Like we definitely did. But the team mentality, I think, has like made my mind feel like it's not all my responsibility, because that is something that, to me, I was not. When we had our kids, we had a very frank conversation of like, I will not be the only one doing things. You will not be the fun parent. Like, no, we are in this together. You're going to be doing everything that I can do. The only thing that he doesn't do is the girl's hair, but that's kind of because they won't let him. Like anytime he tries to like touch their hair, they're like, no, daddy, no.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. He's like, that's a mommy only thing.
Yeah. So that's like my one mommy only thing, but everything else, divide and conquer.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, you know, the team aspect, the conversations consistently happening, not thinking that therapy of any kind. So therapy is like only for this little short window and then you're good. You know, you're kind of in and out. That becomes a different thread or partner or person in your life, as far as, you know, your guys' lives together, of understanding like, who would we ask about this? Where would we bring this up, you know, in this situation? And I think that even with work and with a job, understanding what your team and communicating who your team is really helpful. Training, you know, we've talked a lot about corporate, like the corporate side of if you're in a bigger company, but there is something even, you know, with Hidden Gem coaching, you probably really feel this with like the small business side of where having that team member, having that communication is really important in any way that you can do that to your employees that are working with you, you know, contractors, any kinds of those things are really important. So do you feel like, so if I were like, let's say, you know, I'm a second trimester, like I'm in my second trimester and I'm realizing that I need coaching or I need support, or pretty much all of the people that I've talked to have just said, well, just wait until after the baby's here, or just get a different job and deal with it. So how would they like contact you? What does it look like to work with you in that, for that case study of a person?
Yeah. For that case study, I would say don't wait. Like that actually, I think is the wrong idea, is to wait, because then you're waiting and I'll just talk about my own journey. I had a lot of postpartum anxiety and depression after my girls.
Mhm.
And so I felt like I was already in therapy. So it
Mhm.
was so foundational because then as soon as I had the girls, literally we set up a session and we did it like remotely. And like,
Yeah.
I think the first session, I literally just cried the whole time. Like she just
Yeah.
sat with me while I cried. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like the feeling of overwhelm. And so
Mhm.
I think because I already had that foundation with her, starting a new relationship with her therapist after you had a baby is just a lot to handle. So
Totally.
set yourself up to win is the first thing I would say. And then the second thing is like coaching with me is definitely based on like where you are. Like, is it that you want to keep your job, or you want to get out of it?
Yeah.
Either way, I've coached people through either way. People
Yeah.
wanting promotions, people wanting to take a step back, because
Yeah.
that's okay too. Like sometimes you realize like I don't actually want to be in leadership anymore. I want to be an
Right.
individual contributor, and I want
Yep.
to do my job, and then I want to go home to my kids and
Yep.
do whatever I need to do, and that's okay. So the coaching with me is very much based on like where you are in your journey, what you need, and
Mhm.
also you can change your mind. I've dealt with people before that were like,
Yeah.
I want to go be a stay-at-home mom, and then they're like, I can't do this anymore, and they
Like,
want to go
I
back to
wanted
work.
to do it for a little
Yeah,
while, and then
yeah.
I'm
So
good.
yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
I'm
So then we
experienced.
prep for that. Like we do interview prep, we do whatever we need. So it
Yeah.
can be individualized. And I definitely think starting before you actually have the baby is pivotal,
Yeah.
because then it's more getting the foundation and that you can change. You know what I mean? You can change your
Yeah.
mind at any time. Like I had so many beliefs of what I was going to do as a mom. And then I got these babies and
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like, what was I thinking?
It's a giant book. It's a giant book of things that I was like, "Hey, I'm never gonna do this."
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Now I do those
I
things
should
every
do it.
day.
That's what we should do a series on. We should do a real
Yeah.
series on that. Of all the things I said that I would never do. So, yeah, so I think working with being able to contact you and say, okay,
Mhm.
this is what I'm looking at. This is what I'm trying to do. Is this a Jessica thing or is
Yeah.
this a referral else? That's usually, and you're a straight shooter. And that's what I
Oh, yeah.
appreciate so much about you is like, you're not going to tell people like, oh, I could do this when you can't,
No.
or it's not an area that you have expertise in or whatever the situation is. Cause I think that even having the understanding of like digesting some of the material that you put out as far as like, oh, I can be confident in what I'm doing.
Oh,
I
yeah.
can interview pregnant. I can make these changes and these
Yeah.
shifts. I think most of the time moms in any industry feel like they're stuck because they feel like they can't be 100% in the at home portion, like being with their family 100% CEO of
Yeah.
the household, and they also can't be 100% at work.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of what we've been sold, to be honest, but
100%.
it's like I definitely don't think, I mean, as far as when I started my private practice, I don't know if I've talked about this super exclusively on the YouTube channel even, but part of, like you had said, that kind of letting go of what I thought a working, like I really I went back to work full time at a hospital after my first son. And it was exactly your same sentiment. I said, I don't think I did it for did I do it for like a year and a half to 2 years? I think I did it for a year and a half to 2 years. And I was like, literally what you said, I cannot be the mom that I would like to be if I stay at this pace and doing this in this situation, in this scenario. And people are like, well, people do it all the time. And I'm like, yeah, people do it all the
That's
time.
fine for them. Yeah.
What they give to their family is the leftovers.
Yeah.
And being 9 to 5 on someone else's schedule is really like 8 o'clock to 6 o'clock,
Yeah.
and then plus some, depending on what industry you're in, or if you're in leadership or
Yeah.
anything like that. And so it's like, I'm just going to arrive like burnt to a crisp. I'm already like, then what am I going to do, with this family that I've created? So then started the actual unwinding and unlearning of all those things to be able to even, have the concept that I would have any kind of private practice. Took so much mentorship and
Yeah.
coaching. But what's interesting is now I feel like I have a coach for like a lot of things.
Yeah, no, I listen. I tell people all the time, you better believe that these executives, these CEOs of these great companies, the huge companies, they all have a coach. I have literally vetted coaches for CEOs before. So I know it. So I'm like, why do other people feel ashamed to have coaches when these people that they look up to have coaches and they don't even know it?
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's like there's no way to support yourself into being able to be the person that you need to be to run this thing and to do all of this. So it definitely, I was so excited I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited to have Jessica and Aaron too, but Jessica involved and being there for the event
Yeah.
and that kind of thing. Cause like I said, we have midwives, we have OBs, we have doulas, PTs, we have a lot of the healthcare side,
Yeah.
but to be honest, that's not my wheelhouse. So I always encourage moms, and I will just say, from my personal perspective, this is kind of how I landed here doing this.
Yeah.
But also, you really do have to have good understanding of what your needs are as a person
Yeah.
who's working, because that's the inevitable real life.
Yeah.
As much as we would love to be like, we could have a maternity leave as far as we want. I mean, who knows if that's even realistic? Who knows if
Yeah.
you even want that? Like you said,
Yeah.
maybe you want to transition back to 3 days at work,
Yeah.
4 days out. Like maybe you want to just be completely done. Maybe you want to revisit in a year. Well, you're going to need some support to transition back into
Yeah.
that. It's not going to be
Absolutely.
like,
No, it's a
not that I'm
transition.
in the dating,
Yeah.
but it's not like you're going to just pick up an dating
No.
app and be like, I'm here. You're going to get rolled. I mean,
Yes,
that's
like you need
yeah.
it. You definitely are. And one other thing I want to say, because I do think
Yeah.
I've coached a couple clients on this that are going through the pregnancy journey of trying to get pregnant. So sometimes I think we think about like, you're pregnant, now what? But
Yeah.
even the journey to pregnancy, I have several close friends that have gone through the IVF journey
Yeah.
and how taxing that is on their body. And they needed flexibility for appointments, and they needed like all of those things too. And so I want to say that too. I've coached people on that part of it too, because even the journey to get pregnant and like,
Totally.
what does that need? What do you need for that flexibility? And then you're pregnant, and then you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
there's so much
Yeah.
to it. Yeah.
The fertility side is really complicated. It's really complex. And like you said, I don't know what the number is. I'm sure I could ask my chat GPT bot or something, but the number of appointments for high risk
Oh yeah.
pregnancy and the number of appointments for an IVF or an assisted
Yeah.
pregnancy of any kind, I'm sure they're very similar, and
Oh,
then like you said, after that, you're pregnant now. Okay. Let's say IVF goes the way we want it to, or the assistance goes the way we want it to. And then you have another onslaught of this
mhm,
next, 9 months of frequency of appointments
yeah,
and all these managing these things. Yeah, it's not for the faint of heart at all. But when it comes to the parenthood and the motherhood side of it, you're just so refreshing, and
yeah.
how you explain things and what you're sharing with everybody. So we
Thank
really
you.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's really fun. I mean, there's enough of like, this is sad and it's
Yeah.
greige, and it's like just sunsetting pictures. Like we need
Yeah.
some real life. Like
Oh
I
no,
need something
I'm
else.
giving it all. Like I tell people all the time when they're like, "How do you do this all?" I'm like, I'm under no disillusion of how this is going." Like,
Yeah. I mean, it changes from day to day for sure. For all of us, we're just trying to figure it out. So thank you again so much. Is there last thing you would like to share with, like I said, a mom who is at any point in her motherhood journey? Is there anything you'd like to share with her about career coaching?
yeah. The one thing that I would say, and I think this is from my own experience, is like just ask for help. I am one of those people that is very type A. I'm like, I can read a book about it. I'm going to ask AI. I'm going to figure this out. Do all of those things, but then ask a mom. Like just ask somebody that you know. I, even when I was pregnant with multiples, found people on Instagram and just messaged them and said like, hey, I just found out I'm having twins, like, can you talk to me? And not a single one of them turned me down. Every single one of them talked to me. And then once I found out I was having another set of twins, I've only found one other mom in Las Vegas that has another set of twins, and she and I are now like the greatest friends. Like, come to find out, her mom lives in my neighborhood. Like, this a sweetheart.
Oh,
Like, found her on Instagram, and she's the only other mom. And so I say that to say, build your community. You are
yep.
going to need a community. Build your community.
Yep. And it takes some time to do that. I think one of the things
Absolutely.
that I've also that's a really great advice, building your community and figuring out what that means to you. I've also had a really hard time being a villager. So like
Yes.
I'm all about the village, but sometimes, start, like you said, kind of start that prenatally, if
Mhm.
that's something that you feel like is not
Yes.
intuitive to you, being the villager, taking time to, you don't always even have to reciprocate. It's like
Yeah.
accepting that help as a
Mhm.
villager, accepting that there's some flexibility there
Mhm.
and things that you may not, you may pick up as you go along. That is, to your point, very much part of community that nobody really talks about.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Like, just
Being able to receive is very hard for most people,
yeah.
including myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your wisdom and sharing kind of what you do and how I think there's a lot of great opportunity for moms who want to have the motherhood that they want. It really does start with what their career coaching looks like and like how they're going to be able to support that. Because if you don't have support for that, or if you don't know where that's going, then you're not going to have time to, you're not going to have energy or time to have the motherhood journey that you're reimagining or that you're imagining going along. So we will see Miss Jessica at our event in January on the 17th. And you can always reach out to her. We'll put her, tag her for the YouTubes and all the things. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Bye.